Hey friends, I want to talk cryptocurrency today, and I want to set the record straight about the environmental impact of cryptocurrency, okay? If you are paying attention to anything, you're hearing all of this buzz about how NFTs are destroying the planet, how cryptocurrencies are boiling us all alive, and all of those things, okay? I just want to caution you about any of this information. When you hear information like this that's being spoken in such certainty, just do your due diligence, okay? If you plan on getting involved in cryptocurrency, in stocks, in any sort of investing, think back to the video. I'll link the video that talks about the 3 things that you need to ask yourself if you're going to get involved into stocks, into investing. You got to do your due diligence. You can't just trust this. If I sit here and I tell you such and such stock is a great investment, you should not trust me because you need to do your due diligence. Okay. Now this is the same thing. And so I'm really bothered by the fact that a lot of people aren't doing their due diligence. And so I'm not here to advocate for you to buy cryptocurrency, for you to mint NFTs, for you to buy them. Well, I don't care. I mean, you do what you want to do. I mean, I'm learning to play finger drums over here. That's what I'm doing, okay? So you don't have to be involved in this space, but I don't want you to be scared away just because there's a bunch of people that are talking about environmental impact when they're wrong, okay? So let's go on this little journey. So we're going to start here. We're going to start on a website. It's called brightly.eco, okay? There's a very short article written on March 12th, 2021. So this is not a very old article at the time of filming. Up here, it's written by Ben Korn, and it says, confused by what NFTs are and how they hurt the planet? Here's everything you should know, okay? Now, I'm just going to say it. It's a very short article. This is not everything that you need to know, okay? The real crux of this that I want to talk about today is the environmental impact of NFTs. Really, I'm going to broaden it to cryptocurrency because that's what they do in this article. So they say here, to put all of this into perspective, the daily carbon footprint of Bitcoin is the equivalent of watching 57,000 hours of YouTube videos. Okay? And I'm thinking, man, 57,000 hours of video, that's a lot of video. And then it goes on to talk about its daily electricity usage is equivalent of the amount of power an average American household uses over the course of 25 days. And then this is where I struggle a little bit. The environmental impact of NFTs is similar as it uses energy-intensive computer transactions to authenticate and sell the art. Okay, well, hold on a second. You're giving us information about Bitcoin, and you're kind of blindly applying it to NFTs. They're totally different systems, so that's an issue. But let me go back to this number here. 57,000 hours of YouTube video sounds like a lot of YouTube video. So I pulled out my trusty calculator on my phone, and I thought, you know what? Let's compare. How bad is Bitcoin when it comes to like just YouTube in general? Because 57,000 hours of video is a lot for me to use in a day. I'm not going to be able to pull that off, but I wonder how much YouTube just proper as a whole. I wonder how much content's being watched. So now let's jump over to oberlo.com. They share a lot of different pieces of data and facts about, really it's just data about different things. So this was about YouTube in particular. So this was now YouTube based in 2019. That's where this data is from. Every day, people watch 1 billion with a B. See that? That's a B right there. 1 billion hours of video on YouTube and generate billions of views. Okay, so that means this 57,000 number, let me pull up my calculator here. My 57,000 hours number, that's nothing. So Bitcoin in a day, uses nothing compared to what YouTube does in a day. So I did the math, of course. So that means that YouTube is 17,543 times worse for the environment if we're going to be going off all of these numbers. Now, this is the key, all right? So I'm not going to sit here and say cancel YouTube because you're literally watching YouTube, a video that I made for YouTube on YouTube right now. So that's silly. That's not where we're going to go with it. But that's my point. My point is we're clanging the alarm bells. We're freaking out because NFTs cost electricity and problems. Okay. The last article I want to cite here is written by a guy named Nick Carter. He is a writer, an opinion writer for CoinDesk. Let me see. I thought there was a better way. There's a better little author summary of who he is. But it's an opinion piece written for CoinDesk. I don't know if he works for them or not, but that's all I know is that it's an opinion piece. And it says, the frustrating, maddening, all-consuming Bitcoin energy debate. This article is full of links that take you other places, so I would encourage you to read it. If you're going to do your due diligence, this is a great place to start. Read some of the articles that are talking about how wasteful and how inefficient and how it, cannibalizes trees and kills puppies. Whatever. Like, read those things because I think it's helpful for us to have a well-rounded perspective of what people are saying and believing. But I think when it comes to the other side of that coin, this is an incredibly important author, and not necessarily author. I don't know the guy or his work really, but it's an incredibly important perspective and collection of data and actual information. So he goes through all sorts of different things. He goes through some of the arguments that are being made that are short-sighted, that are really born out of a misunderstanding of the way that Bitcoin works and the way that cryptocurrency works. He's talking about where the bulk of energy is born in terms of consumption. It's from coin issuance, not from transactions. That's important. It's a distinction that's important to be made. And he goes through a lot of the different details. The one thing that I want to elevate for this conversation that I think is particularly pertinent is this line right here. The question ultimately boils down not to the particulars of mining, but rather the societal merit of non-state money. So essentially what he's saying in this is he's saying the conversation isn't really about the efficiency or inefficiency, the energy usage, those types of things around Bitcoin. That's not really where the conversation should be happening. The conversation around Bitcoin is there value in what it is? The reason I wanted to show you YouTube data and I wanted to compare it to in this case, Bitcoin, but even thinking broadly for cryptocurrency, is because YouTube provides an incredible amount of value for, everybody who's engaged in it, I would assume. Sure, there's probably, people who've had bad experiences, I guess, but I have fixed the radiator of my car because of YouTube. I have changed, I forgot what the sensors are, but I've changed some sensors in my car because of YouTube. Like, I literally have the video on the engine compartment and I hit play and then I hit stop and then I try to do the thing and then I hit play and then I hit stop and I try to do the thing. We've fixed plumbing leaks in our house. We've learned some new strategies for planting seeds. We've learned, I've learned a ton of, I can't even summarize the volume of knowledge that has been born out of YouTube for me. Lighting setups. When I was in the beginning of trying to figure out how to light anything in this, context, in this environment, I'm all over YouTube. I'm like, how do people do it? When this kettle, I got this kettle as a gift. I had no idea if it was worth asking for or not. And so when I got it, I did research. I'm like, this is a pricey kettle. Like, is it worth it? And I got information. When I was learning how to do a pour over, I got information. My hope with this channel is that you come here and you get content that empowers you to run and accomplish the hobby, the side project, the side hustle, maybe even turning a hobby into your dream job. Like, that's what I want to do. My hope is that provides value. But that's what YouTube does. It's a platform that provides a ton of value for people. It also brings people together in community in a way that wasn't possible in the past. We can now align ourselves based on the interests that we have. I have a barbecue channel on YouTube, and I've interacted with a ton of really cool people because of it. It's amazing. Okay, so now we pan out a little bit. Is the value of Bitcoin worth the environmental cost? I don't know. Is the value of YouTube worth the environmental cost? That's the way we need to think about these conversations. Is the value of NFTs worth the environmental cost? Don't know. I can't make that decision for you. That's part of the beauty of all this, is that you get to make that decision. If you want to opt out from NFTs because you're concerned about it, that's great. You do that. But if I decide to opt in, I'm declaring that I think that this space has more value and it's worth it. And so I mentioned this briefly in another video. Let's be real careful about being so quick to judge some of these technological advancements when they're young. Cars were janky when they first started. They were not the greatest thing. I've seen pictures of when electricity was the wires when they're kind of making electricity mainstream. There's wires everywhere. It looks hideous and it's dangerous. And there's all these problems associated with it. But you know what? I'm pretty glad that they kept plugging away and making it more efficient. And so while some of these things may be inefficient in their early stages, in their basic states, as people are still beginning to understand its implications, like look at NFTs. I'm like, man, the future is crazy with opportunity and potential in these spaces. So yeah, it's inefficient right now. Okay. So let's figure out how to make it more efficient, because we shouldn't get rid of the technology just because at this moment it's inefficient. So all of this to say, don't be scared off by these environmental arguments when it comes to investing in cryptocurrency, because they are not as accurate as they are posturing themselves to be, but you will discover that on your own as you do your due diligence. So let's keep an open mind about some of these things before we jump to conclusions, and don't be afraid to explore and be curious.